Hello everyone, welcome to the Biblical Wisdom on Money Matters course. This is a three-part series that will give you an overview of what the Bible teaches about money and wealth. Many people have many opinions, but we want to see what the Bible has to say to us about the subject. Now let's start with a famous quote, "Money is the root of all evil." This is not strictly biblical. Listen to what the Bible really says. 1 Timothy chapter 6 and verse 10. "For the love of money is a root of all kinds of evil. Some people, eager for money, have wandered from the faith and pierced themselves with many griefs." It's not money itself, it's the love of money. Because we use money to pay for most things, money is both necessary and useful. But it can quickly become a problem as well. Money-related issues cause a lot of pain and conflict. Many counselors will tell you it's a money thing. So often that's where the problems come from. Now the Bible teaches wise principles that if you and I will put them into practice, they will save us a great deal of pain. This short course is designed to present a biblical view of money matters, to equip us with the wisdom to manage our money wisely. Today we're going to start by looking at some key principles. The first principle is this: money can be a master. Jesus gave a stern warning about the power, the influence, the control of money, that it can actually become a master that we serve instead of him. Listen to his words, Matthew chapter 6 and verse 24. "No one can serve two masters. Either you will hate the one and love the other, or you will be devoted to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve both God and money." So money can become our master. When it's our master, we chase after it. We become followers of money instead of followers of Jesus. So we make sacrifices in order to gain more money. We end up laying down our lives for the sake of wealth instead of for the sake of Jesus and his kingdom. Money begins to rule over us. It steals the love and devotion that Jesus deserves. It has been very wisely observed that we need to master money so that money doesn't master us. Let me say that again. We need to master money so that money doesn't master us. Now, it's easy to say, Jesus is my master, money is not. But our lives could reveal something different. It's therefore wise to regularly check our priorities and our passions. Here are some signs that money is starting to master you, or possibly it's already mastering you in some way. You have enough money to get by, but you're seeking a way to make more money. You're prepared to play the game, to make small ethical compromises in order to make a sale or to make more money. You know, some things are legal, but they're not right. You say no to a spiritual task or opportunity or responsibility because that would stop you doing something which will make you more money. You spend money gambling or on get-rich-quick schemes, taking significant risks in the hope of making more money, particularly easy gains. I'm sure there are many other signs. Maybe you're thinking of one right now. It's good for us to keep a check on our lives. Let's make sure that money is not our master. Principle number 2 is this: God is the source of money and wealth. Deuteronomy chapter 8, verses 17 and 18. "You may say to yourself, my power and the strength of my hands have produced this wealth for me. But remember the Lord your God, for it is He who gives you the ability to produce wealth, and so confirms His covenant, which He swore to your ancestors as it is today. And 1 Timothy chapter 6 and verse 7, for we brought nothing into the world, and we can take nothing out of it. Now, many people are proud of their achievements. Perhaps they've studied hard, perhaps they've worked hard, perhaps they've paid their dues, as they say, or worked their way up from the bottom. Perhaps they put blood, sweat and tears into their businesses. As a result, they take credit for their wealth, and they claim the right to do with it what they please. They say, it's my money, I can do what I want with it. But the truth is, friends, whatever we have because God provided it in some way. God's most common means of provision is through work, not through wealth falling out of the sky. He gives you and I abilities and strengths that enable us to do things that produce wealth. So whatever we did to make our money, as we say, we did using the strengths and the abilities that God gave us. And that means that God is the one who is ultimately the source of all that we earn and all that we own. When we recognize this should change our attitude towards money and wealth. God is the source of our money and our wealth. Principle number 3. Wealth does not equal God's favor. Some of you may be looking at me funny now because you've been taught something else. Some church movements have encouraged the godly to forsake worldly possessions for the sake of the kingdom of God, even to make vows of poverty. Other movements have encouraged the godly to trust God for prosperity as the evidence of the favor of God. Completely different viewpoints. James offers the most thought-provoking perspective on this. James chapter 1 verses 9 to 11. Believers who are poor have something to boast about, for God has honored them. And those who are rich should boast that God has humbled them. They will fade away like a little flower in the field. The hot sun rises and the grass withers, the little flower droops and falls, and its beauty fades away. In the same way, the rich will fade away with all of their achievements. Many people today view riches as a sign that God has blessed them or rewarded them, or even exalted them. They see poverty as a sign of the lack of God's blessing, or perhaps as discipline, or even as his punishment or a curse of some kind. But here James teaches a completely different view. Here he teaches us that poor believers have actually been honored by God. They're not being punished. He has given them a high position in the kingdom of God. I've met some of them, and I so agree with James. And in contrast, rich believers, of whom I've met many as well, have been put in a humble position in the kingdom. Their wealth is temporary. It could vanish at any moment. You've heard of people who've made millions and then lost everything. Now, this is an extremely important perspective for us. Firstly, it shifts our focus from temporary wealth, our money, our things, to eternal wealth, what we have that is eternal in the kingdom of God. Secondly, it reassures the poor that they have not lost God's favor. And thirdly, it cautions the rich. not to be proud of their temporary wealth and to assume that this means that God is pleased with them. Friends, if we incorrectly believe that wealth is an obvious sign, a direct sign of God's favor, then we can fall into the trap of seeking God's favor in order to gain wealth. Paul wrote about this in 1 Timothy chapter 6 and verse 5. In constant friction between people of corrupt mind who have been robbed of the truth and who think that godliness is a means to financial gain. So friends, while God gives us the ability to produce wealth, wealth does not equate to his favor. Recognize this too. It is possible to gain wealth, to become rich, through ungodly means. And that certainly does not signify God's favor. Proverbs chapter 10 and verse 2. Ill-gotten treasures have no lasting value, but righteousness delivers from death. That's the end of part 1. In part 2 of this series, we'll learn some biblical attitudes towards money and wealth. For now, let's remember those principles. Money or wealth does not equal God's favor. God is the source of money and wealth, and money can be a master. Let's ponder these principles, and I'll see you in part 2.